Welcome to my home garden. Today I'm going to be picking some mint so I can dry it in my dehydrator. So I'm going to show you how I pick it, how I dry it and what I do with it and the reason for doing it. So if you've not already subscribed to my channel, if you could please do so, because I give you lots of helpful hints and tips all throughout the year from my home garden, my allotment and also my home kitchen. Now it's November, so the mint won't be here for much longer, and I was watching an episode of Escape to the Chateau the other day and it kind of inspired me to pick some of my mint and dry it. I've dried other things for tea, but actually I've never dried my mint before, which seems completely crazy because, you know, in a month or two's time my mint will all have died back and I won't have any to make tea with, and then I'll be left with having to buy mint tea if I want any, and that just seems crazy to me. So I'm going to be harvesting some of this. So literally I'm just going to pull it off the plant. I'm going to take quite a generous amount because when you dehydrate things they do reduce down in size significantly, especially things like this. Anything like nettles or mint, when you dry it in the dehydrator it really does reduce down a lot, so I will be able to get quite a bit in there. So I think we've got a little bit more over here as well. Obviously make sure you're just picking mint and not anything else, and you don't want to pick this stuff for the woody stuff, you want to pick the really nice leafy bits that are here. I've still got at the moment a really nice generous amount. I think this part of my garden must be quite sheltered. So pick myself a nice amount. I might fill my dehydrator right up actually. I'm thinking of actually having some for myself and actually giving some away as gifts, because I've got some friends that I know really like mint tea, so that would be a really good idea for Christmas as well. So I think I've got most of what I would call the nicer looking stuff off. Plant. Yeah, I think that will do. Oh, a couple more bits there. It's worth leaving a little bit fresh out, even if it's not for long, because I do actually use it in cooking a little bit, so I don't want to completely strip it bare. So I will leave a few bits there. So I've got a nice basket full. So I'm going to take these indoors to start preparing them. So I'm back in the house now, and what I'm going to be doing first is I'm going to be taking all the leaves off the stalks, because we don't want to dry the stalks. It's not that you can't use the stalks, but it just takes up a lot of room when you store it, so there'll be nothing wrong with putting them on there with all the sprigs and everything on there. It would just take up so much more room, if I'm honest with you. So all you've got to do is just pick them off. You don't wash things like this unless you think they're particularly dirty, and mine aren't. You start to wash all the oils and all the flavour out of if you start washing things like this, and mine all look perfectly clean. So what you avoid is any that look a little bit tatty, so I'm just going to pick off the good leaves. So the dehydrator that I've got is one that I did a lot of research to get actually. There are a lot of really expensive ones out there, and that's fantastic if you've got a really big budget. But one, I wasn't sure how much I was going to use it when I bought it, and two, I didn't really want to spend £300 if I'm honest with you. And this one is an Andrew James dehydrator, and it does everything that I need it to do. So I've dried lots of things in this. Chilies, nettles, raspberries, oh gosh, a whole host of things, and it's always done a really good job for me. So I'm quite happy with this one, and actually by coincidence, Dick and Angel at the Chateau, I noticed that theirs looked very similar than mine, so obviously I made a good choice. If it's good enough for them, it's definitely good enough for me. So this is probably the most time consuming bit, because I've literally got to pick off all these leaves. So this is the thing that's taking time. If you've got someone to help you, like any little helpers, or this is probably quite a nice thing actually to do in front of the TV in the evening. And then you can just kind of like pick it off, and you don't have to lay it straight on this like I'm doing now, but obviously I'm just doing this for demonstration, just so you can get an idea of how this works. So I do a tray full, so you get an idea. Generally when you dehydrate things you don't let them overlap, but when you're doing something like this and they're just little leaves, it's perfectly okay. You know, you'd never do that with like raspberries or chilies. I've got a cat that's come to see us, my little cat Shelby. You would never overlap larger things like slices of apple or slices of pear, because they wouldn't dry properly. But when you do something like this, as it dries they really do shrink down a lot, so it'd be perfectly okay for them to be a lot thicker on this. So I've taken all the leaves off of the stalks and they're all laid on 3 trays here. I am going to put a link in the description for this dehydrator if you wish to get one for yourself. So just put the lid on and I'll set that to start drying. Things like herbs do dry really quickly, so it's worth checking them, you know, after about 2 hours. All depends how much moisture's in them, but they do invariably dry a lot quicker. So it's a really easy thing to start with if you've never dried anything before, because chilies and apple slices and things like that do take an awful lot longer. So it's a really good starting block if you've never dried anything before. And of course, it's always great to have some mint tea, which I'm now going to enjoy. This is actually fresh mint tea because I had a little bit left over and I thought I'd have a glass. So cheers everyone. So mine's been drying for about an hour and I did move the trays around part way through. I actually put mine on quite a high temperature, so I'd probably recommend doing it on a slightly lower temperature, but it just goes to show how quickly it does dry because they've only had about an hour. You know, you don't want them to turn to powder, so it is really worth keeping an eye on them. I was really surprised how quickly they dried. So I'm probably going to do some more because, as you can see, like I did say, it does really shrink down quite a lot when you dry things like herbs. So I really hope that's helped. It's going to inspire you to get drying, especially maybe some teas to try and reduce plastic use down.